Okay, so welcome to the self-defense class workshop. My name is Laura, and I have been training for about 20 years in learning self-defense and martial arts, and I think it's important for everybody to know a few tidbits, but not a lot all at once, because if you don't train regularly, it's difficult to retain information. So I think one of the most important things about self-defense is awareness, knowing what is around you, and just, when you go out somewhere, without looking behind you, what's behind you, what's to the side of you. And I don't feel that being aware is being paranoid. Sometimes that can come across as, like, oh gosh, what's around that corner? Oh gosh, but it's not like that. You're very relaxed, just taking in your surroundings. And also, this short workshop does not take the place of regular training or going to classes and learning things, because it takes a long time for your body to react instinctually to things, like if you
muscle memory.
Yes, if you were attacked or something like that. And also, apart from awareness, the number one thing is to never get in a situation where you have to fight or anything like that. But if you do, you want to defend yourself and win. That's the whole goal. So I've got several handouts here, and the first one is just some basic things about self-defense. And like I said, awareness is one of them. What to yell, we're going to talk about that, and some tools to use. So what is self-defense? Does anybody have any definitions or ideals different from what I wrote down here? Like when you hear the word self-defense, what does that mean? Or what do you think of when you hear those words?
Protect yourself from
Protect
being a
yourself.
victim.
Okay, from being a victim. Okay. Yep. That's right. And self-defense are countermeasures. So self-defense, when you're walking through a parking lot, a countermeasure, you are being aware of who's sitting in their cars. Or when you're walking in the door, you're not walking like this, like, or
texting.
Yes, you stand with confidence, whether you're male or female, because both male and females get attacked. I mean, we're not just, one gender. So presenting yourself in a confident way, walking with purpose, even if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're sort of faking what you're doing, even if you don't feel like, I'm having a bad day, I don't feel good.
So what's purpose? Are you standing up, or your shoulders
back? Standing with good, strong posture, eyes are forward, and if you are approaching a situation, like your eye contact perhaps, and just sort of making sure you are feeling that, that little sonar ping sort of feeling you get when you don't feel like a situation is exactly right, like if you're walking toward, let's say, a group of people, and you kind of get a feeling that something's not right, you should trust that feeling. And I think a lot of people sort of neglect those feelings, maybe, because they are, like you said, they're distracted, they're in their phones, or listening to music and just completely zoned out of everything. But being in touch with that feeling, that's important, because in my experience, it's 99.9% correct, and you should listen to it, because it is something I feel like as humans we are given little extra senses that can help us perhaps stay out of a situation. Self-defense, I also included, there are no rules in self-defense, which that means, to me, it doesn't matter what it takes. If someone's attacking you, you do what it takes to get them off of you and to protect yourself and your family, your property, so whatever it takes. And I also included in here a use of force, which talks about like the different laws and things like that when it comes, because sometimes there's a fine line between what can you do, what should you do, and the basic issues. And of course, that first sentence on it, in the United States, it is illegal to harm another person intentionally. So self-defense is not intentionally seeking out, I'm going to harm this person. That's not what self-defense is about. It's about avoiding those situations and using the tools that you already have. And each of us right now have 6 powerful weapons. And I came in with 6 powerful weapons on me. Do you know where they are? a guess, and they are on my person right now. There are 6 of them. Originally, I thought there were 5, but I discovered another one.
Fingers?
Yeah.
Hands and feet.
Yep, hands and feet. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there are 2 more.
Your head.
Yes, your head. Most importantly, the thing in between your ears, the brain. And there is one more, which is quite powerful. The voice. Being not afraid to use your voice and say, if someone perhaps is approaching you and you don't know why they're approaching you, say, hey, wait a second, or, can I help you? Or stop right there. That's far enough. What do you need? And a situation that comes to my mind is being at a gas station. Sometimes I've had people approach, and I don't like that. When I'm, pumping gas, I like to keep my back to the vehicle while I'm pumping, looking around. But when someone approaches, whether they're needing X, Y, or Z, money or whatever, stop right there. You don't need to come any closer. What do you want? You can use your voice. So don't being timid in your voice, like quiet. That's fine. That's good. And I used to be timid when I was growing up. But confidence is key in how you speak, how you project your posture, your voice, and don't be afraid to say no or stop right there.
So you do that with panhandlers. I know downtown Chattanooga has so many more panhandlers
it's
than
difficult,
ever
right?
before.
Yeah.
So what do you do to diffuse them?
Just keeping the contact. You don't have to make direct eye contact with them, but just walking with purpose. If you're walking through a situation like that, or avoiding it completely. Those kind of things make me uncomfortable. Like if I see groups of people just sort of loitering around, and I kind of get the yes. And if I see them, like because I'm paying attention out, like a wide view scope, I will go a different way, honestly, for myself. And even if I'm with my boyfriend or other friends group, I don't like that because I get a feeling that if something were to happen, there might be 5 of them and 1 of me, and I don't want that. And I've had training, but I don't want to. No, I want to be completely peaceful, and let's not, do anything. So, looking ahead, planning ahead, almost like chess. You're thinking strategically. What could I do to avoid this situation? And if you have no other choice, walking through with purpose. And if you feel someone closing in, getting closer, you can just turn and be like, hey, stop right there. Or just keep going. Avoid those situations at all possible because it's tricky. It's very tricky, and it takes practice to notice those situations. I was abroad one time with my dad, and we were on one side of the street, and it looked like an intoxicated person on the other side. I don't know. They were rambling around, back and forth. And I was like, oh, gosh, So we were on one side, and he sort of starts to cross over. So my dad and I just crossed to the other side of the street. And don't be afraid to change your pace, your stride, or to even if you see something and there's no way out except to turn around and go back, turn around and go back. Because, it's not worth your life. It's not worth you possibly getting injured, getting things broken. So yeah, the key is to not get in those situations, yes. So using your voice, acknowledge a person, and they could be a threat, they may not be a threat, they could just be trying to sell you something. And there have been, like you said, panhandlers, hey, do you want to buy these, special windshield wipes? No, I don't want to buy those. So using your voice is very important. And don't distract yourself. I see a lot of young people, and sometimes I do it too, but not often. They are like this walking down the street.
They're zombies.
Walking out the door, and we have those little blocker thingies, and I'm like, oh gosh, are they going to hit into that? And you're like, and when the Pokemon first came out, people were running into doors like, don't do that. No. These things are wonderful tools. Your phone, and when you're in with a group of girlfriends or, wherever, it's fun to be, in that group, talking with each other, but don't forget to make sure you know what's going on around you. And just take a glance, you don't have to be like, oh gosh, what's that? There's something, not like that, but just calm and relaxed and being confident. But don't distract yourself. not going out at night. I see a lot of young women going out at night with their earphones in, with music blaring, running, exercise. That's great. I love exercise. But don't do it in the night where, that just putting yourself in places and situations that could lead to something. It's just a choice. I personally would not do that because if something were to happen, I don't want to be a part of it. So I make sure, you choose. And of course, thieves don't care what time of day it is. That one girl that got kidnapped out in the Target parking lot, it was broad daylight. This happened a year or two ago. So thieves and people like that don't care what time of day, but you can make choices on what you do. So being careful about how you don't distract yourself. So phones, music, and also when you're at home. Home is a comfortable spot, right? You feel comfortable. You want to feel protected when you go home, but also being aware at your house. Like if you hear a sound outside and it doesn't sound normal, don't go out and like, hello, what's out here? Maybe like look through the windows, but going out without, that's also a self-defense measure. I live sort of like in an out country place, and if I hear a sound, that's kind of scary and nerve-wracking to open my door and be like, okay, what's out here? So choosing to like look through the windows and see, or turning on your lights, flipping those, like if you have the floodlights outside. So even in your comfortable spaces, not getting too comfortable with those situations and still being aware, I think are important. The next little packet is awareness tips to make it a habit. It takes practice to make awareness a habit. Like I said, I mentioned about going to Walmart, for instance. When you go to Walmart and you park, the parking lot's always busy, the store's always busy. Making it a habit where you park, when you get out, you're not fumbling around in your purse or digging for something, trying to lock the doors. You're out quick, close your door, lock it, and then as you're going in, you're sort of scanning the parking lot, just looking. And I do that too when I go, just to see, is there anybody sitting in their cars, just sort of looking around. That way I know and they know I'm watching them, And the same as when you're inside the store. I had this happen a few months ago. I was looking at makeup or something, and I noticed just out of the peripheral, here's a big bright orange shirt, and it was some old guy. I don't know. He was just sort of there, and I was like, okay, that's interesting, and just paying attention, and I'm looking for the makeup, and I know, okay, it's that still, so I walked, and I keep seeing it, so I just turned around and looked. Didn't say anything, just looked, and this guy had been like sort of hovering, as it were, around the aisle, and I just looked, and he went on. So I don't know if that was a situation, he was just sort of scoping, you never know. But just being aware, like if you see something, don't be afraid to look at a person, or be like, okay, hello, what are you doing, Mm-hmm. So if you feel like someone's getting too close, encroaching on your space, and you don't feel comfortable, just say it. There's nothing wrong with saying no, stop, what do you want? There's nothing wrong with that at all. Using common sense is also very important, and those are things that, just listening to that intuition feeling. If you, like we talked about, walking down a dark area that's not well lit, using common sense is not to go down that way, but to choose a place that's maybe more well lit if it's, nighttime or something like that. Not shopping at nighttime, and some people get out of work late, but don't grocery shop in the night, unless it's, at the most dire, but make sure you're under a street lamp or a parking lamp. There's all sorts of things that can be in the shadows and things like that, but you want to make sure that if you do have to do those things, when you have your cart, make sure that your back is to something. I will sometimes pull my cart sideways this way, and here is my trunk. That way when I'm taking my groceries out of the cart and into my trunk, my back is not completely exposed. My, cart is here. And I don't have a pocketbook that looks like a suitcase. That's okay. That's okay. You know, like some ladies carry bags that I could fit probably a whole month's wardrobe in and go overseas, and don't do that. And if you do that, don't let whatever's inside that bag cost you your life. So if someone grabs a bag that you have, let it go. It's not worth your life. Even if there's $1 million in there, let it go, because you can't replace your life.
A purse at all.
I've got a little bag about this big. It's a little zipper bag.
Like a crossbody or a...
No, it's just a hand, like I put it just underneath. And I kind of think of it as if I had to, I could just do that and it drop and I'm ready. I don't have to fumble with, something across my neck here, which, I mean, that's fine, like the ones that go across like this. But if somebody gets it and pulls, that's bad. That's really bad. I mean, you can put your hand here, but that small cord of a bag, that's going to be difficult to get my hands under because it's just small. So even if you hold a bag, you're somewhere where you could drop it quickly if you had to. And if somebody wants your money or whatever you got, by all means, throwing it this way, tossing it away from yourself. That way, as they're distracted by whatever's in your bag, you are going the other way and trying to get away from that and avoiding it. This one, the tips and tools for self-defense sheet. Always keep your phones charged. It doesn't matter if you charging that thing, and it's up to 50% or whatever. Make sure that it's charged. And when it gets to 50%, keep it like you would your gas tank. Always half full or full. Don't let it get down to the 9% or, the 3%. Oh gosh, it's in the red. Because what if you needed to make a call, an emergency call? What if you broke down and you were driving on some backwoods road, it's dark, there's nobody around, and you needed to make an emergency call, and you didn't have the battery life? That's bad. Make sure you keep it charged. The new phones have the battery saving power mode where you can put it on, and it reduces the power slightly, so it saves your battery during the day, which I think is important. So keeping your phone charged. These can also be used as a tool to strike if you had to. That would hurt here. But it's a powerful tool to get a hold of somebody in case. Keeping your gas tank full, half full or full. Don't let it get down in the red where the little thing's flashing. And you may do that now, but think of what happens if you had to drive 15 miles to safety and your light was flashing. Would you make it? I would rather be on half and be able to go 200 miles and be ready to go if I had to, And it's not that those things would ever happen, but planning ahead, what if it did? Could I safely get my family, if you had kids or your, whoever you have, if you had someone in the vehicle with you, could you get yourself and that person to safety if you had to? Sharing your plans and your whereabouts. That's not like giving your whole life story. And I know for, especially young people, me too. I mean, I would always let my dad know, and I still let my dad know where I'm going to be. And I let my boyfriend know. It's not, and when I teach this to teenagers or parents that have kids, it's not about keeping tabs on you. And it might feel that way. When you're, oh gosh, I don't want to tell you. But letting someone know where you're going to be. That way, in case 5 hours later they've not heard from you, what's going on, they would know where to start to look. So I think that's important. Teaching your children about awareness or someone important to you. Carrying a whistle. Remember I said your voice is important? Yelling is good, but you may only have a few good yells before that voice starts to go. So a whistle can be louder than your voice. And you don't want to yell and scream until you lose your voice, because you may need it. And on that note, if you needed to yell something, do you know what is the most effective thing to yell?
Fire.
Yes, fire. Because people will come to a fire to help get the buckets, get whatever. But if you yell help, people are more hesitant to get into a situation where there might be an altercation happening, There might be something going on. So fire is the most important thing to yell. And you want to yell it like there is a fire because there's a situation happening. So you don't want to yell like really screechy, high-pitched. You want to kind of yell like it's an animalistic yell. I think that's the most important because sometimes the high-pitched, that kind of yell, and I would do it louder, but that kind of yell can be seen as children playing. Oh, screeching, and that's fine, but like an animalistic roaring sound, and if you need, watch the Animal Planet or something. When the animals, when they mean business, they're not fooling around with little small sounds. They're ready to go from within out, and it all takes practice to be able to feel that confidence, to be able to feel if I wouldn't had to scream or yell. Who cares if anybody thinks, oh, well, no, that's weird. It doesn't matter. It's you who you have to protect, your family. It does not matter. So being confident, and you might have to practice. Go out in the backyard or something and just practice, because first and foremost, you have to be confident with yourself. If you are not confident with yourself, you will not be able to let that confidence radiate to others around you, to family, friends. So you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror, and I've done it before where you just look yourself in the mirror, and can you be okay with that person that's looking back at you? That is another important thing to self-defense. You have to be able to be confident in you, no matter what it is. And everybody's yell and everybody's technique is different, just so it fits you and it works for you, and you practice. And there may not be classes, or something where you could go and practice, but either researching or looking at different things that could help with self-defense, or maybe just taking a class, looking where are the classes, where could I go? Because regular practice is what's going to help stick here and help you to plan ahead and start thinking, when I do walk out into the parking lot, if something were to happen, what would I do? Where would I go? What are my weapons? And speaking of weapons, we came in with 6 weapons already, right? Yes. Here's another one. This is big for my hand. The one I had before was smaller, but these can be used striking. It is close range, mind you. Close range means within arm's length or closer, which you want to try to avoid, because those situations can get kind of scary. The next are these. This is a wonderful weapon right here, because I can strike down, and you better get back because it's going to hurt like fire, and holding something like this, so if someone did grab it, I can let it go. Having something that's attached to you like this, that might be okay if you know how to hold on to it if someone were to get a hold of it. I would recommend something easy to drop in case you had to strike down, and if somebody did grab the end of it, let it go. That way you can move forward. And my last lovely item here, this is my most favorite, because it can go anywhere I go. This right here. It can go on a plane. It can go through metal detectors. I love this because look, here I've got something that can go into a soft place. You don't want to strike where there could possibly be strong muscle. And in here it's very strong. And it doesn't matter if you train regularly, like working out, strengthening muscles. This right here is strong, the muscles here. So you want to strike somewhere where it's not strong. Here, it doesn't take very many pounds of pressure to crush here. And you can grab, you can strike. Here is soft, here is soft, here is soft. This is what I like. I like going for vulnerable points. Things that are going to come off, come out, off, off. And if you have to, you want to defend in such a way that you can get away. So striking somewhere soft, not hard. And there are different points on your body and the legs that are soft, but for the most part, big muscles. So you want to strike, if you had to, soft. To points that somebody's going to let go if they've got you. And does anybody have any questions? I know this is a very quick thing. Very quick. Any questions or anything that you might like to see how to defend out of?
What about mace or pepper spray?
Okay. I don't personally carry it, but if you do carry it, or if you carry a firearm, make sure you practice, because if something were to happen, your small motor movements are reduced. So if you had, like you said, mace or something like that, let's pretend this is some mace, and it has usually a little cap on it, your adrenaline's going. If someone were to, and if you don't have it in an easily accessible place, you're going to have to flip a button, flip something. Your fine motor skills are out the window. So something that's quick, easy, that you can grab like this, because when your adrenaline's going, it'll be difficult to pick up something small like a pen cap, or flipping little buttons or something, or even like if you have a weapon, a firearm, undoing the holster, all this stuff. But if you do carry it, make sure you practice regularly. Practice. If you have a firearm, go practice at the range regularly. That way you know what it feels like. You know what's going to happen. Mace, if you have that, make sure you practice regularly so you know how to open it quickly, and you do it instinctually. So you practice enough that you could do it if somebody just woke you right out of a sleep. You could roll out and you could do it. And it just takes practice and practice. And more practice. So if you buy those things, buy them often. So if you buy a can of mace or something like that, buy one every month and practice. Go out and spray it, spray the ground or whatever, and practice with it. See how far it'll go. See how it works in different situations. That way you know how to react if something were to happen. But the fine motor skills are greatly reduced if something were to happen. So you want to be careful and cautious. Any other questions? That was a very good question.
I like the can of wasp freeze. My husband has a pest control company, and that wasp freeze will blind you. If you spray it in somebody's eye, it's ergonomic. You can feel where to spray. You can't take it in your purse.
It goes a long way.
It's 25 feet, so nobody gets onto you having wasp spray. You're not going to be hauled off campus.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the classroom. I did the armed shooter training, but none of our doors locked. I'm in classrooms where the desks are bolted to the floor. And how can I diffuse somebody coming in and protect my students? They're not going to be aware. They're going to be texting. They're going to be oblivious. We have so few things.
That's true.
So I'm hoping that mean school teacher voice doesn't leave me. I hope I can do an evil lie.
That's a good question. And it would depend on the situation. Like if you knew someone was in the building and you might could take something and brace a door or something like that, keep everybody quiet, maybe put them, make a barrier with tables or something like that in case there was, like you said, an active shooter or something like that. But yeah, it's difficult.
Sometimes the student is the stalker. We've had a faculty member in business several semesters ago. The student was her stalker.
Yeah. And that brings us to Stalking Awareness Month. This was a website that Laurie at the front desk brought up. And this has like some different information on stalking. If there is a problem with that, don't be afraid to make a report. Don't be afraid to say something. And there are different networks of people that can help with that. But I don't really know if someone were. I would report it, and I would be vigilant and being like, okay, what's going on? You need to stop this kind of thing, and involve other people that could.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people are they don't want to talk about it, but friends, neighbors, everybody should know.
Yes, they should know.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think we're embarrassed and we don't do some of these things because we think we look stupid or I don't know what we think.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I too think a lot of young people, if they are victims of stalking or victims of child molestation or something like that, instead of saying something, they're afraid. Oh, that person's going to say something. Oh, they're going to look at me different. That's when you teach your kids that no matter what, or your best friends, your best girlfriends, people that, it doesn't matter what it is, you need to let someone know, because it's either that or your life or the detriment of your life. And there's no sense in living like you're in fear your whole entire life. I mean, you got one life to live, you might as well live it bold and live it, live it happy and not being like under constant fear. So I think that's important. And a lot of times, if there are attackers or if there are situations, like you said, with stalking or, abuse or something like that, it's usually by someone that person knows. Most often a close relative, a close friend, someone they wouldn't expect to do something, and then they feel even stranger about saying something because they're like, oh, I thought I knew this person. But most often it is someone that's close to that person. And that's tricky. Not being afraid to say something and having a network where you could, make that person feel comfortable. So always talking with young ladies and letting them, hey, I'm a person you can come to and say something to. And I guess a lot of people feel like, like you said, embarrassed, or they feel like, oh, nobody's going to understand.
Middle-aged women get over that pretty quick. I
Yes.
don't think this group's got anything to worry about. Do you think by having that strong persona and being aware and sort of steeling yourself firm, do you think that's prevented you from being attacked?
I sure hope so.
I mean, it does seem like people try to pick out the weak out of the herd.
Yes, they do. Right. And and I like, putting it back to Animal Planet or Discovery.
Well, there is a lot of that.
They prey on
the weak.
that. Yes. And the way you present yourself, even if you don't feel like it, start practicing it, and you will begin to believe, yes, I am. And I grew up as shy as could be. Quiet, always in the back, like, oh gosh, I don't know what to do. But training martial arts and doing those things has helped build confidence, and you have to be comfortable. But I think, walking with purpose and going for, I think it scares a lot of people, because a lot of people aren't confident. Even as you get older in life, I think people are scared to be seen as, oh, that person's confident, or, oh, who cares? I mean, you ought to feel like you and, be the best version of you, and don't be afraid of it, because we only get a short amount of time, in our lifespan. Even if we live to be 150, it's still too short, so I think that the walking with purpose, walking with confidence, and not being, meek and shy. And I think especially a lot of girls, a lot of women are taught to be, kind of,
my daughter, when we went to New York City over Christmas, we realized we were on the subway going in the wrong direction. So we got off the subway and we had to go up to the street, and we were not in the best part of town. And Eva, all of a sudden, she's not a wimpy kid, but all of a sudden she just shut down. Mom, she's grabbing me. I said,